few here for you, sir. These are the new balls available from the clubhouse as part of the new Trump Turnberry range. And I forgot to hand them out before. I'm very sorry, Mr. Trump. And thank you. I apologise. My bad. Thank you. Please
go and get a job and a haircut.
If you want, you can hand them out.
Go and get a job and a haircut.
I think someone does something going Shane.
It's part of the new Trump range.
How did he get it?
Sorry, Mr. Trump, I meant to give you.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And this is an amazing honor. It's an amazing day, very historic day for a lot of reasons, not only Turnberry. This was one of the big votes in the history of Europe and Scotland and everywhere. It was very exciting coming in, and we were landing and we had just heard the results. So I wish everybody a lot of luck. I think that it's purely historic, and what's happening is historic. So it's an honor to be with you. My mother was born in Scotland, in Stornoway. She loved Scotland. She would be here a lot. She would come every year with my sister Marion and my sister Elizabeth, and they just loved it. Her loyalty to Scotland was incredible. She respected and loved the Queen, and she loved the ceremony and the pomp and circumstance, and she was something special. And to think that we'd be here owning Turnberry one day would be incredible. She would come to Turnberry with her friends, and they'd have dinner at Turnberry. She didn't play golf, but they'd have dinner at Turnberry. So having taken this hotel and done the job that we've done with it is just an honor that I was given the opportunity. We bought it about 4.5 years ago. The town council has been incredible. The local politicians and all of the politicians all throughout have been absolutely incredible. They approved virtually everything that we asked for. We asked for the right things, but the approval process, because it's so historic, it had to go through many different layers, but every single thing that we wanted, they agreed that they thought it was good, and in some cases great. We've taken the lighthouse, which is a very, very important building in Florida, in Scotland, and we've taken that building and made it something really special. Inside the lighthouse right now is incredible suites, and it's called the Halfway House because this is the 9th tee, and it's called the Halfway House. And on the bottom you have dining, and golfers will stop and they'll go and get something to eat, and then they go into the 10th hole, 10th tee right next door. So the lighthouse, and it was in disrepair, and all of the people from Landmark, Scotland, and all of the people that we had to go through I just thank you, because it was a long, difficult process getting that approved, but they really wanted to see it at the highest level, and now it's really at a higher level than it ever was. And when you see, I don't know if you'll get the chance, but if you do, you should try and get to see the suites, because they are two of the most beautiful suites you'll ever see. And, when the water's rough today, it's very calm. In fact, I've almost never seen it like this, but sometimes you have waves that are literally crashing onto this piece of land that we're standing on. It's one of the most beautiful sights you'll ever see. This hole didn't exist. The Royal and Ancient has been incredible. They've worked with us on design. They've wanted to do these changes for probably close to 50 years because they were so obvious, and we've made certain changes to the course. In addition to that, we fully renovated the course, brand new sprinkler system, the highest level. Many of the holes have been jiggered, made even longer, and new greens, new everything, and yet it's the same Turnberry. But the hole 9, 10, and 11, and 4 have been changed and moved out into the ocean. This hole, as an example, from approximately this area, you would hit over there. This was a par 4, and you'd hit over there, and it was a much different thing. Now you're hitting out over the ocean, and just to the right of the lighthouse, you have a green, and a lot of people think this will be the greatest par 3 anywhere in the world. And then 10 becomes a par 5 that the golfers know and the members know. I think we have a lot of the members of Turnberry right in the back, the captain and a lot of the members. We appreciate you being here. And we have then number 11, which is a spectacular hole, also a par 3, built right on the cliffs. and that hole was moved about 200 yards to the left. And Tom Watson saw me, and he won the British Open many times, Peter, right? Many times. And he said 5. He said, what a change. And, he actually thought it was a very easy hole the way it was, but he probably liked it because he would birdie it all the time. But what we've done is what everybody's wanted to do for many, many decades. I want to thank Martin Ebert, who has done an incredible job as the architect. And I called up the Royal and Ancient, Peter Dawson, who's an amazing man and a great guy and a talented person, and loves the sport and loves Scotland. And frankly, I said, who should I use as the architect? And he did me a big favor. He recommended Martin. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank Peter Dawson, who's here with us now. Peter Dawson headed up the Royal and Ancient for years, and he has been just a great friend. And I thank you for everything, Peter. Your recommendations have been incredible. Thank you very much. My son, Eric, was in charge of the job. I wanted to really come over here, and Ivanka and Don came with me to congratulate Eric. He was really, we gave him the responsibility of building. The hotel, as you know, was gutted down to the steel and rebuilt. I think it's going to be one of the great hotels of the world. It already was, but it was in somewhat dilapidated shape, and we had a choice. We could fix it and paint it, or we could do it the way we did it. And we went back to the original plans. We were able to get the plans from the original architects from many, many years ago. It was 1906, and we went back to those plans, which are magnificent rooms, very big. They were cut in half, and all sorts of things happened over the years. And we have something that's very special. It's considered one of the most beautiful buildings in all of golf. I think we can say that, Peter. Usually a building, when you have a building on a golf course, that's not an asset. That's called a liability. This is one of the buildings where, even though it's in the distance, when you're in the 18th hole and you're looking down the fairway and you're looking at that building, it's considered one of the great, beautiful, and historic sites in golf. As you know, Jack Nicklaus won the Open Championship, and Tom Watson, and you have so many great champions. Actually, the greatest, I guess they say one of the greatest tournaments, if not the single greatest tournament in the history of golf, was the Duel in the Sun. It was at 1977 with Tom Watson and Jack Nicklaus, and that was just birdie, birdie, birdie. Everybody else was sort of, they weren't in the match, right? But these two just kept going wild, and that was where Tom Watson chipped in from an area that you couldn't even hit the green, let alone get it in the hole. There was only one way to stop the shot, and that's if you chipped it, and that's what he did. And Jack is an incredible sportsman, and the way he walked off the course was one of the great scenes in all of golf. And Jack Nicklaus is a friend of mine and a great champion, and great champions, whether it's Tom Watson or Greg Norman or Nick Price. We've had amazing winners at Turnberry, and really not only amazing winners for the Open Championship, but some of the best tournaments they've ever had. So we listened to the Royal and Ancient, and we did what they wanted us to do. In addition, they put in tremendous miles of television cables, and everything's underground, so it's all ready to go from that standpoint. And the town is so happy and so thrilled, and the town council who's here, and I want to thank you all very much for being here. They have been really terrific. So again, in honor of my mother, Mary McLeod, and who is a terrific person, she came to the United States at the age of 19. She was a beautiful, beautiful woman and a very smart woman, and she met my father, and that was it. And they were married for a long time, and they had a great marriage, and really a great marriage. But in honor of my mother, Mary McLeod, and in honor of my children, Don was very instrumental in buying it. We had the owners were here. They were friends of mine from Dubai, great people, but this wasn't their thing because they didn't know too much about golf. And they actually felt, why should we move a hole into the ocean when we already have a hole? And I said, well, it's not better. They said, yeah, but it's already there. So, they didn't understand the golf thing. But it always did well. Turnberry, because of its location, because of the fact that you're on the ocean, because it's one of the most spectacular properties in the world, it always did well. But now, since we actually opened a number of weeks ago, the course, and we haven't had an empty slot. Peter, you'll be happy to hear this. We haven't had one empty slot. It's from morning till night. It's packed. So it's a special location. I don't know, it's just the location. Everybody comes here, whether it's from London or wherever they want to be. They all want to come to Turnberry. And with that, I just want to thank a few people. I have to thank Ralph, who, the one thing the other owners did, they said, where is Ralph? Ralph, the one thing they said is, they said, you have a man named Ralph. He was an assistant manager at that time. And one of the owners, who's sort of a friend of mine, said he's the most talented hotel person, hotelier. And they said, you should have him be the manager. And we did. We appointed him as the manager, and it's been nothing but great stuff. And the hotel opened about 2 weeks ago, and it's been amazing. Eric did such a good job. We've had very few complaints, almost no complaints about the rooms. Usually when a hotel opens, you have drains that aren't connected and pipes that aren't connected and water that's spewing through the roofs and all sorts of things. We haven't had anything. They've done a great job. The contractors have done a fantastic job. And the hotel is built to the absolute highest standards of luxury. And the course is built to the absolute highest standards of tournament golf. And I think there'll be nothing like it. In one of the reviews, and I think it was Golf Digest in the United States, they compared the 14 rotor courses and the 14 all great courses. And it's where they play the Open Championship. And this writer said, Turnberry is number 1, but because Trump owns it, I make it at number 3. And I said to myself, that's hatred. That's hatred. But I'm used to that with the press. That's okay. I considered it a compliment. I immediately sent that review to the Royal and Ancient. I sent it to Mark. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to ask perhaps Eric and Ivanka and Don to come forward and say a few words. And again, Ivanka came, and Eric said, wow, this must be important because Ivanka came, right? Because she's something else. They're all, my children have done a great job. And I mean, one of the very important reasons I'm here, not only because we own it and we're going to cherish it, we're going to take care of it, one of the great places, great resorts of the world, but also because I want to really support my children. They work very hard to make this property what it is and what it's now become. The reviews of the course have been phenomenal, not just like good. Even people that truly hate me are saying it's the best they've ever seen, which is always, to me, Peter, that's always my greatest. When they hate you and they give it a 10, that means you did a good job, right? But the reviews have been phenomenal, and the reviews of the hotel have been great. The hotel is, I didn't even put a mortgage on. We have no debt, no financing, no anything, and I wanted to do that with Turnberry. I don't want to have any financing on Turnberry because it's so special. So I just did this out of cash flow, and we just have an absolutely zero debt property, and I think it's something that's going to be a great tribute to Scotland and many other places, and also a great tribute to the world of golf for many, many decades to come. So I'll ask Eric in particular because he built it, but I'll ask Eric and Ivanka and Don to come forward. Thank you all very much. Thank you for being here.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. It obviously means the world to us. You know, it means the world to me when I can get my father anywhere these days because of his hectic schedule, and we love you to death. And thank you so much for coming. You know, we've really shepherded this process through over the last 12 months as he's been slightly preoccupied with something else. And, you know, it's amazing. Our father's put tremendous trust in us, tremendous love. And it's so nice to see this vision come to fruition as we open up this hotel today. So thank you, Dad, for having the confidence in us. We love you very much. We wish you a lot of luck with everything you're doing. No different than this project. We'll be by your side the entire way. And we're just really proud of what we've created. So thank you all very much, and thank you to all our great members in the back. Well, I'd like to perhaps reiterate a little bit of what Eric said and just thank my father for the incredible opportunities and mentorship he's given us throughout the years. You know, working for him initially and now with him, and now maybe we're doing a lot of it on our own. I just want to thank him for letting us, you know, sprout and grow and give us those opportunities, because he's done such an amazing job in his career, and to be able to learn from the best is truly spectacular. So being able to work in a family business is an interesting thing. You see so many horror stories about that, but to be able to work with him, to be able to work with my brother or sister on a daily basis, I guess we've gotten lucky because we've done it right. It's just incredible. I couldn't be happier every day going into work, and it's a nice way to live your life. So I just want to thank him for allowing us to do that, for being so great to us, for being such a good mentor and teacher, and for always being there. So thank you very much, and I hope we made Turnberry great again.
Thank you, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. We all love Scotland as a family, starting obviously with my grandmother. We have a very personal, sentimental attachment to this place, and she really loved Turnberry. So when my father first set his sights on it and we first visited here as a family, I knew it could be spectacular under his leadership. And I think what was accomplished here is illustrative of his bold vision and his commitment to excellence. It's the only way he knows how to operate, and I think this is a perfect example of that. So being here today, seeing the bold vision that he set forth, seeing the execution of his very capable team, spearheaded by my brother Eric, is such a pleasure. And I look forward to being here very, very often and enjoying it for the next 24 hours. But thank you all for being here. And thank you to our amazing members who have been so supportive of the process, and all the government officials who along the way have given us tremendously positive and reinforcing feedback. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you. And thank you, Dad. It is really a pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Peter Dawson, I'd love you to stand and just get a little accolade because you've contributed. Mr. Peter Dawson of the Royal NHU. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for being here. Now, if anybody would have any questions,
Mr. Trump? Mr. Trump?
Yes.
Mr. Trump?
John?
Question about the Brexit, sir, in three parts. Apologies. Do you see any parallel between what happened in the UK in terms of rising up against the status quo and what might be happening in America? How would a Trump administration approach the Brexit should you be elected president? And as Scotland voted 62-38 to remain, should Scotland leave the UK, as many people are talking about?
I think I see a big parallel. I think people really see a big parallel. A lot of people are talking about that, and not only the United States but other countries. People want to take their country back. They want to have independence in a sense, and you see it with Europe. All over Europe, you're going to have more than just, in my opinion, more than just what happened last night. You're going to have, I think, many other cases where they want to take their borders back. They want to take their monetary back. They want to take a lot of things back. They want to be able to have a country again. So I think you're going to have this happen more and more. I really believe that, and I think it's happening in the United States. It's happening by the fact that I've done so well in the polls. You look at the recent polling and you look at the swing states and you see how I'm doing, and I haven't even started my campaign yet, essentially. I mean, we've done very well. We're raising a lot of money for the Republican Party. I'm going to be funding a lot myself, but we're raising a lot of money, John, for the Republican Party, and you'll see those numbers come out over the next 30 days, and in particular 60 days. The numbers that were put out last week were just a very start. That was a very small period of time just to start. But we have raised a lot of money, especially money coming in from small donors. You'll be amazed when you see the kind of numbers we're talking about, because we were amazed, and I was amazed. But that'll be reported fairly soon. But I really do see a parallel between what's happening in the United States and what's happening here. People want to see borders.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily want people pouring into their country that they don't know who they are and where they come from. They have no idea. And I think, it not only did it win, but it won by a much bigger margin than people thought it would happen.
And how would your administration approach the Brexit? And again, the question of Scottish
You
independence.
just have to embrace it. It's the will of the people. It's not a question of approaching it. It's the will of the people. It's always the will of the people. Ultimately, that wins out.
And would you like to see, should Scotland leave, sir?
The impact of what is taking place here in Britain, the markets are...
Right, well, nobody knows. Look, if the pound goes down, they're going to do more business. When the pound goes down, more people are coming to Turnberry, frankly. And the pound has gone down. And let's see what the impact of that has. But I think places like Scotland and England and different places in Great Britain, I think you're going to see a lot of activity. The pound got high. and people weren't able to do maybe what they wanted to do, but for traveling and for other things, I think it could very well turn out to be a positive. Nobody really knows. You'll know in about 5 years. You'll be able to analyze it, and maybe it'll take even longer than that. But what is known is that they've taken back their independence, and that's a very, very important thing.
It's momentous right now, and you are on the world stage. Are you traveling with any of your foreign policy advisors? You knew this was going to happen today. There was going to be some sort of decision. Are you huddling with them to find out what the best way?
Well, I've been in touch with them, but there's nothing to talk about. I've been saying that I would prefer what happened. I thought this would be a good thing. I think it'll turn out to be a good thing. Maybe short term not, but ultimately I think it will be a good thing. And I've actually been in touch, and some, by the way, don't like it, and some do like it. They're advisors. They're like everybody else. They probably know less. Every one of these advisors. Somebody said, gee, you should use advisors that have been really hot for the last 5 years. I said, really? I think I want to use ones that haven't been involved. Take a look at what's happened in the world. Go ahead, Katie.
Quick follow-up. We've had a special relationship, the U.S. and the U.K., for quite some time now. But with this vote, their standing in the world, their standing in Europe will certainly be diminished. Their influence will be diminished. Will they still be the first call for you, for the U.S., when we need help?
I don't know, first call or second call. There'll be a very powerful call. It's going to be a great relationship. There'll be great allies. They always have been. And I think zero will change on that score. There's never been a better ally, and I think nothing will change on that score.
Mr. Trump, do you believe that the U.S. should move immediately to renegotiate trade deals with the U.K., or, like President Obama has said, should the U.K. now move to the back of the line in light of the Brexit vote?
Well, President Obama did say, I guess, that they should move to the back of the line. That wouldn't happen with me. The U.K. has been such a great ally for so long. They'll always be at the front of the line. They've been amazing allies in good times and in bad times, and sometimes they make mistakes together, but as we know, but they've always been great allies. So I will tell you, I think that I was very surprised when I heard President Obama say that, and I think he said that because he thought for sure it was going to stay together, but it didn't stay together, and I felt it wouldn't stay together. And again, I think that's what's happening in the United States. It's not staying together. It's a really positive force taking place. They want to take their country back. The people want their country back. We don't want to lose our jobs. We don't want to lose our borders. They want to have wage increases. They haven't in the United States, folks. For the members and all of my members at Turnberry, we've had hard-working, great people that haven't had a real wage increase in 18 years. So they're working harder now and they're making less money.
Well,
so go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up on that. The Treasury Secretary, the Fed Chairwoman have both said they expect this, if the Brexit was successful, to have a negative impact on the U.S. economy. Are you worried about that at all?
Sarah, they don't know. Look, we're going to have to see how it plays out. What I like is that I love to see people take their country back. And that's really what's happening in the United States, and I think you see that. And that's what's happening in many other places in the world. They're tired of it. They want to take their countries back. And, this isn't such a phenomenon like some people are saying. And when people ask me what I thought was going to happen, as you know, I said, I think they're going to break away. And it's just turned out that way. And it was a little bit surprising because the polls indicated probably that it wouldn't happen, 80%. And when I landed this morning, the first thing I asked is that. And, it was fairly close, but it wasn't that close. So we'll see what happens. I think it'll be a good thing. You're taking your country back. You're going to let people that you want into your country. And people that you don't want, or people that you don't think are going to be appropriate for your country or good for your country, you're not going to have to take. And, look, Europe, like the United States, has made tremendous mistakes over the last period of time. You look at Germany, you look at some of the things that are happening, there have been tremendous mistakes that have been made. So I think it's going to end up being a very good thing, but it'll take time.
Mr. Trump,
Yeah, Tom?
your campaign has gotten global attention. All over the world, people know who Donald Trump is and your campaign for president. Do you think anything you said in the United States influenced voters here in Britain when it comes to leaving the EU?
It's a good question. If I said yes, total influence, they'd all say, that's terrible. His ego is terrible, right? So I will never say that, Tom. I will not. I'd like to give you that one, but I can't say that. And, the question was, what do I think? And I gave my opinion a few times over the last few months, but I also said I really don't want people to listen to it because it's not me, it's about them. It's about them, it's their country. But my opinion is that what happened should have happened, and I think they'll end up being stronger for it, and they'll control their country, and they'll control everything about their country. Yes.
Amanda Walker, Sky News. David Cameron said that you were wrong when you proposed banning Muslims from entering the US. Do you think he got the mood of his country wrong, and do you think he was right to resign?
Well, I like David Cameron, and he had a couple of rough statements, but that's okay. I think David Cameron's a good man. He was wrong on this. He didn't get the mood of his country right. He was surprised. I think he was very surprised to see what happened. But he's a good man, and he felt that way, and probably did the right thing. But we'll see what happens. But I like David Cameron. Yes, sir.
John Sokol, BBC News. Do you think, following your arguments about sovereignty, do you think Scotland should have its independence? Would you support that?
Well, that's up to the people of Scotland, and we've been through this. And
but what do you think,
again,
sir?
I leave it up to the people. I love the people of Scotland. That's why I built in Aberdeen one of the great golf courses of the world. It was just adjudged to be the greatest course ever built new being defined as from 1960 to present, and we're very proud of it. And I've gotten to know the people of Scotland so well, and through my mother and through everything else. And the people of Scotland are amazing people. And that question really has to be addressed to the people. It was a very, very close vote. I don't know that people want to go through that again. I was here when they were going through that vote. I didn't take sides, but I will tell you, it was a nasty period. And I can't imagine they go through that again. But the people of Scotland may speak differently. Yes.
Can I just follow up just on what you said as well about Europe and other countries in Europe? Would you support the breakup of the European Union? Because that seems to be what would happen.
Well, it looks like it's on its way, and we'll see what happens. I can tell you I have a lot of friends living in Germany that have always been very proud Germans to a level that you wouldn't believe. They would be bragging about their country. They would be talking about their country as though there was no other place. They're members of Mar-a-Lago and different places that I have. And now those same people, some of them, are saying they're leaving Germany. They're moving. They never even thought of moving. Now they're thinking about moving because of the tremendous influx of people. And you know what's happening in Germany. It's a real problem. And these are people that were very proud Germans that were beyond belief. They thought the greatest that there ever was. And now they're talking about leaving Germany. And you see the problems in Germany. So I could see it happening. I have no opinion, really, but I could certainly see it happening. I saw this happening. I could read what was happening here, and I could see things happening in Germany. I hope they straighten out the situation because, it can really become it can be very nasty. What's going on can be very, very nasty. Building safe zones in Syria, great idea. Building safe zones, magnificent, big, safe as can be. But when you're taking them into the United States by the thousands, and we don't know who they are, when you're taking them into Germany and other countries, and all you have to do is look around the world, see what's happening. There's some real problems.
It is easy for politicians to use immigration to divide electorates. How does a leader unite people?
Well, you unite people by having a happy country. And when people pour into the country and it doesn't work, whether it's because of crime or various other things, you're not going to be uniting anybody. I just told you about Germany, where people want to leave Germany. People that I would never in a million years have said these people want to leave. But they're going to be leaving. So you can't unite a country by forcing things down the people's throats. And that's what happened here. People are not happy. Yes, sir.
So a happy country can't have any immigrants in it.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Mr. Trump, the outcome of the referendum is having a seismic impact on the British economy. Do you intend to scale back your investments in Scotland? And how does it feel to be on the sidelines of the news cycle?
No, if anything, I have big investments over in Europe. I have, as you know, I own Turnberry in Ireland, which is a phenomenal hotel, one of the most beautiful hotels, one of the most highly rated hotels in all of Europe. And it's got a golf course on this large, almost 500-acre parcel of land on the Atlantic Ocean, and does great. I own Turnberry. I own Aberdeen. I'm going to go stop at Aberdeen for a little while. I'm actually leaving. I'll only be here one night because I have to go back and campaign, which I actually love doing, to be honest with you. But I wanted to support my children who have really poured their hearts and souls into this development.
Mr. Trump,
so, but I think you understand. Yes, go ahead.
Speaking of campaigning, a lot of people in the States are saying, did you really have to be here for this?
Yeah, because you know why I'm here? Because I support my children. Okay, next.
Mr. Trump,
Tom, go ahead.
You mentioned that you paid for Turnberry without any debt.
Right.
You're a politician. Does it bug you to have to pick up the phone and ask people to donate to your campaign?
Yeah, I don't like doing it. Again, I'm an honest politician, probably one of the few. Tom's asking, does it bother me to, when you're raising money? And again, Tom, I'm raising this money for the Republican Party. It's something I've never done. I've always contributed money to lots of people, a lot of campaign contributions over the years. And once I ran, I became like an outsider. But I don't like doing that, but I have done it, and we've had amazing weeks. Last week I was in Houston, as you know. We had tremendous lines. I made a speech also, and the lines were actually on ABC. They reported, ABC Local, they followed the lines all the way to the highways. It was actually, I've never seen anything like that. And then Dallas, where we had a similar thing. But we also had fundraisers, and I've really never done. I sit with 20 people and we talk, and they all hand you checks. Bing, 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 bing. And they're checks to the RNC of the Republican Party, and I feel I have an obligation to do that. And Tom, the numbers are going to be, I think, quite staggering, especially in July. In fact, Steve Mnuchin's here someplace. Steve, are we doing well, Steve? Huh? He's one of the great financiers of the country, actually, and I chose him, and he wanted to do this, and the numbers are staggering. Don't forget, we just sort of started this process a few weeks ago, and the first filing was for a very limited period of time, and it was almost before we started. And but the numbers are amazing. Actually, the numbers for the small donations, we've taken a lot of money otherwise, but the numbers for the small donations are coming in at, I mean, it's beyond anything that we thought. The $25 and $50 and $100 donations. But we'll be reporting in June, but especially the July report, I think, will show you some pretty massive numbers.
Mr. Trump, will you still write checks? Will you still write checks to the campaign?
Well, I just did it the other day. Yeah. I matched, right? I put up $2 million, and I say, let's see who's going to go. And we've raised more than $2 million, but I guess I offered a $2 million incentive to people to put up money. And I don't know if that was the reason, but we had a tremendous response to that.
Mr. Trump.
David?
David Bertosco with the
I know, David. You don't even have to. David. Go ahead.
Back to the Brexit thing. You said that David Cameron maybe misread the mood of his country. Given that President Obama came over here and tried to encourage people to vote Remain, and Hillary Clinton has made it clear that she preferred they vote Remain, what do you think this says about how Hillary Clinton maybe has misread the world? And since she's a former Secretary of State, what does that say about her candidacy?
Well, she's always misread everything. I think she's misread this, and I was surprised that she was so bold and to say, well, the only reason she did it is because Obama wanted it. If Obama wanted the other way, if he said leave, she would have said leave. She does whatever he wants her to do. Now, you know why, but that's okay. We don't have to get into that. But I was actually very surprised that President Obama would have come over here and he would have been so bold as to tell the people over here what to do. And I think that a lot of people don't like him, and a lot of people voted. I think if he had not said it, I think your result might have been different. But when he said it, people were not happy about it, and I thought it was totally inappropriate. And when I said what I said, I told people, I said, don't do what I'm saying necessarily, do whatever you think, but this was just my opinion. He came in and really tried to convince people to stay. And I thought it was inappropriate, and then she doubled down and she did the same thing. And obviously, for the 219th time, they were wrong. They're always wrong, and that's the problem with them.
Mr. Trump, Connor Gillis from LBC Radio. David Cameron resigning today. Would you back Boris Johnson as the future Prime Minister?
I don't know him. I don't know. I'm sure he'll be good. He got it right. So that gives him an advantage, but I don't know him.
Mr. Trump, since your campaign shakeup, I guess it was earlier in the week, I can't remember what day it is now, we have seen a campaign that has become more focused, more disciplined, more aggressive in rapid response. You more on point, I think, than we've seen you in the past. Is this the new you?
I really don't think so. First of all, Corey was fantastic, and we did a great job with a very small group of people. I say this to all the folks here that don't come from the United States. I ran a campaign in the primaries where we got the largest number of votes in the history of the Republican Party, primary votes. Larger than Ronald Reagan, larger than Richard Nixon, larger than Dwight D. Eisenhower, who helped win the Second World War. And we ran a very lean campaign, and I had fewer people, and I spent less money, and I funded the money myself. I spent, Sarah, what, $55 million, I think, something, whatever it was.
I think it was 45.
I think it was 50, but, and by the way, I'm forced, legally, I have to pay myself back. In other words, if I use, this is nothing to do with campaign, you won't see this, this is to support my children, but if I use one of my resorts in the United States and we have a press conference or something, by law, I have to pay myself back. I would like not to. I'd like to just say, use the ballroom and let's not bother with it, but, because a couple of people said I don't, by law, you have to pay yourself back. I think that we should have been given credit for, in addition to winning, for winning with less money spent and with a smaller staff. So now we have a staff of 73 people, and Hillary has a staff of 900 people. I won, and she won. I don't think that I mean, honestly, as a wow, he won with spending less money on a smaller staff. See, I view that as an advantage. A lot of the pundits say, she has a much bigger staff. Well, I think we're very nimble. I think we're doing well. And you've seen the polls that are coming out. They're very close and very equal. We just had one coming out, I think, from West Virginia, where I have a 25-point lead. And North Carolina came out yesterday. We have a 2-point lead. Ohio's even. Pennsylvania's even. The national polls are getting very close. And I'm spending much less money. She's spending tremendous amounts of money. We haven't even started yet. So it's going to be very interesting because she spent, what was it, $28 million, Sarah? I mean, she spent a lot of money, and we're even. And I think that's a good sign. When I won New Hampshire, I spent a tiny fraction of what other candidates spent, one in particular. I won New Hampshire by a landslide. That person came in 7th. I think, when you can do it on a smaller budget and with fewer people, that's the kind of person they want to be the president, because to me, that's a big thing. Yeah,
Mr. Trump, 7 in 10 voters told us in a CNN poll they want to see you cut ties with your business while you're running for president.
I will do that, yeah.
Will you do that while you're running, though?
I will do that. Well, I don't think it matters while I'm running. While I'm running, it doesn't matter. And again, I'm here really for the sole reason, although I did want to see the job that Eric did, because if he didn't do a good job, he wouldn't be standing here right now. I would give him a hard time, right?
And why do you?
He did a beyond job. Beyond. This is phenomenal. And just as you view this great course, you have to see the hotel that we built. It's phenomenal. But no, I will absolutely cut ties. The rules are nobody knows. Okay, it's never had where somebody has this big a business and runs for president and wins. If I win, I would, even though I don't have to do that, I would probably put everything in trust. My children will run it along with my executives. It's a big company. My children will run it along with my executives and just do a good job running it. Let me tell you, the importance of the opportunity that I may be given is so important and so massive. Making great trade deals with China, and with you folks, by the way, but with China, the numbers are so staggering. When you look at trade deficits of $400 and $500 billion a year, the numbers are so staggering and so incredible. I wouldn't even be thinking about the business. I mean, who cares? I mean, I would actually say, who cares? No, I would absolutely, you don't have to do this, but I would most likely just put it in a blind trust, and they would run it or something.
Well, I think this is the 9th Trump I think this is the 9th Trump property we visited during your presidential campaign. Why do you continue having events
here? Well, I
do
use my properties. Number one, I have the best properties. Okay, and you can say that. I will say a lot of the press has said, whether you like them or not, there's no properties like that. I mean, I have the best properties, and you don't get to see that otherwise, but I have the best properties. And the other thing is, why should I use somebody else's properties? Number one, they're not as good, and number two, it's one of those things. Now, I wish, frankly, that I wasn't forced by law to pay myself back. We're forced to pay. You do understand that, sir, because a couple of people said he's paying to his campaign. I'm not paying to my campaign. I would love to give everything for nothing, but by law, I'm forced, whatever the fair market value of a ballroom is, or whatever it may be that we use, or an airplane, as an example. If I use an airplane, by law, I have to pay it back. And that's what I do, and that's reflected in the filings. Jeremy?
Mr. Trump, there has been a long-standing tradition in American politics that politics stops at the water's edge. And given your comments about President Obama this morning, it seems that you don't seem to buy into that.
Well, he didn't stop it at the water's edge, because he made statements about this incredible part of the world, and that this particular country, and frankly, a large group of countries should do. I mean, he's constantly dictating to the world what they should do. The world doesn't listen to him. Obviously, you can see that by the vote. But he's constantly dictating to other countries. So, certainly it doesn't stop at the water's edge with him. And, very importantly, he got it totally wrong. And he's embarrassed. I mean, he's embarrassed by the Supreme Court decision yesterday, which was a real rebuke. And he's very embarrassed by, he got involved. I don't know if that was through a friendship with David Cameron. It could have been. And I understand friendship. And I can understand why he did it. I can understand that. But I think it's something he shouldn't have done. It's not his country. It's not his part of the world. He shouldn't have done it. And I actually think that his recommendation perhaps caused it to fail. Okay, one more question.
You said
yes.
Thank you, sir. How much of the Brexit vote do you think is about economic issues that you've been hammering home on the campaign, low wages, lack of growth in the economy?
Well, I think a lot of it is, but I think a lot of it's borders. I think a lot of it's immigration. I think I've spoken. I mean, I have so many members here, hundreds and hundreds of members sitting in the back, and I've spoken to them, and they're not happy with the people flowing into the country. They don't want that to happen, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I really think the borders, it's not so different. It's amazing the way the world is not so different. We're on the other side of the ocean, but the world is not so different. We're right over there. You go many, many miles right in that direction. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of it has to do with immigration. But I also think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they wanted to be independent. They got tired of seeing stupid decisions, just like the American people are tired of seeing stupid decisions, whether it's the Iran deal, whether it's the border where people just flow across the border like Swiss cheese. They're tired of seeing stupid decisions made. They're tired of looking at horrible trade deals. And you have bad trade deals here, too. And so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Does the Brexit deal bode well for your campaign?
Well, I think the Brexit deal, I think when you talk about leave, I felt, again, knowing the people here very well, but not wanting to get involved, but I felt that was going to happen. I felt it was going to happen. And there was great similarities between what happened here and my campaign. Yeah, people want to take their country back. Okay, maybe one more.
Mr. Trump, you gave a Trump recently.
Well, I almost delayed this. By the way, they said there were going to be 2,000 protesters. There turned out, we counted them, 43. 43, and they're way over there. The police did a great job, but it was nothing much to do, frankly. There were 43 just on the record, because we heard there were going to be thousands of protesters, 43. And my members are very happy with Donald Trump, I can tell you. Is that a correct statement? They love Donald Trump.
Mr. Trump, you invited. Mr. Trump, you invited.
They love what we've done here. And, this is a little bit what we're going to do to the United States. The United States has rotted infrastructure. We have roads that are crumbling. I have a friend who's a trucker, a big trucker, one of the biggest in the world, actually. And he said he buys these brand new, magnificent trucks that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he's never had this problem before. They're just getting destroyed because the highways are loaded up with potholes. And when you have an 18-wheeler or a 16-wheeler and you have these big, massive trucks and they're being, going down a highway at 65 miles an hour and they hit a pothole and they're loaded up with tons of stuff, he said those trucks, no matter how good they are, they get wiped out. And that's what's happening to our country. And I think this is sort of a mini example of what we've done here. The members love us. Scotland loves us for what we've done. The council, our council member here, do we have our council members here? Yes. The council has been so incredible, and it's just been a big love fest. What we do is the United States needs its infrastructure fixed. The bridges are a disaster. The roads are a disaster. My friend told me, he said he's never had a problem like this before. He said you go down the highways and a brand new truck that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars is virtually destroyed. They have to bring it back and have it rehauled because they're hitting potholes all over the place on highways. Our infrastructure is crumbling in the United States, and we spent probably, if you add it up now, $4 trillion, maybe more than that in the Middle East. And we have a problem.
But people will say the country is not a golf course.
No, it's not, but it's you'd be amazed how similar it is. It's a place that has to be fixed. And there's nobody that knows how to fix things like me, and there's nobody that knows how to build like me. So.
Mr. Trump, you saved the love fest.
You looked very good on television last night. I saw you in the dark with the sign behind you.
Mr. Trump.
And you were even fairly nice. I was actually, okay. Yes. Okay, how about these two? Sarah, go ahead.
Given
Yeah.
mentioned that poll and the fact that this is the 9th property that we've been to. Tomorrow will be the 10th property that
Right,
we've been
Katie.
to. You faced a lot of criticism out there for people saying that your motivations are really about your brand
No,
more
I
than
don't
it
care.
is to
I
be
don't
a
care
civil
about it.
servant.
If it was about my brand, I wouldn't have done this.
What is your rebuttal?
No, if it was about my brand, I wouldn't have done this because I've given a lot. I've given up The Apprentice. I said I'm not going to do it. Steve Burke wanted me to do, years more of The Apprentice. Continues to do great. I had to give it up because you're not allowed to do this, with equal time laws and provisions. You're not allowed to do it. I've lost certain things, especially early on. Early on, I lost Macy's, and I'm glad to see that Macy's stock tanked because they were very disloyal. But just over the subject of illegal immigration, I lost Macy's as a vendor for ties and shirts and things. So it was not a big deal, but it was still a loss. No, this is not for brand. If I wanted to do good for my brand, I wouldn't have done this because one thing about politics, everybody liked me. But once you run for politics, you'll have 55 for you and 45 against. I never had that before. It's very interesting. My wife said to me, I've never heard this before. There was some of the crowd was a little bit hostile. She said, I've been with you for many years and the crowd always loved you. And now you have half the crowd hostile and half the crowd loves you. And that's called politics. In politics, if you run for office and you get 55% of the vote, that's considered like a landslide. That's a big, big difference. But that means that 45% of the people don't like you. So for my brand, this has not been a good thing. Although, look where we've come. We started out, we were 1-17, and, we won. We won. And I think we're going to go much further than that.
How tough is this course? Can you beat Eric on it?
This is a tough course. Soon I won't be able to beat Eric. Let me put it that way. He hits the ball a mile, and he's a very, very good golfer, actually. I think soon. I think my days are numbered as far as beating Eric. Okay, one more question.
Mr. Trump, you gave a speech.
What do you make of the commentators and the media outlets that say that Vladimir Putin and you are the chief benefactors of Brexit?
That Putin and myself are the chief benefit? Well, I don't know about that. I know that I think he would be probably because I know how he's been scorned to a certain extent. Certainly he's not a person that likes our president very much, and our president doesn't like him very much. He said some very nice things about me. I think he probably is somewhat of a beneficiary, and we'll just see how it all works out. I think it's going to end up being a great thing, and the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing is your people have taken the country back, and there's something very, very nice about that. And they voted, and it's been peaceful, and it was strong and very contentious, and in many respects, I watched last night, it was a little bit ugly, but it's been an amazing process to watch. It's a big move, and when I came here, I said, who's going to come out here? It turned out that probably more people came out here. This is a tremendous turnout.
Mr. Trump, you invited a lot of local politicians who did not show up today, specifically citing your politics.
What?
You invited a lot of local politicians today. That many of them did not show up, specifically citing your politics.
Everybody. We have the entire
How many are here?
Excuse me. We have the entire town council. So I have no idea. I have no idea.
Mr. Trump, in your statement.
Anybody else?
Mr. Trump, in your statement.
Ewan McCaskill from The Guardian.
Say it?
Ewan McCaskill from The Guardian. You said it was a love fest, but to pick up on that point, David Cameron said he didn't want to beat you.
Where's David Cameron right
the
now?
First Minister.
David Cameron. No, excuse me.
Alex Salmond said
David Cameron would have met me. David Cameron was negotiating to meet me. But right now, I don't think David Cameron wants to meet anybody. Katie, did you have one other thing?
Sorry, Nicola Sturgeon wouldn't meet you. The Labour Party, Liberal, you're regarded as toxic.
No, I think what happened, I think we have, nasty guy. I think we have something that people really respect what I did. I took one of the great assets of Scotland and brought it back to a level that it's never even seen. As great as Turnberry has been over the years, and it's been one of the great of the world, it's now at a higher level than it's ever been. It's never seen these levels before, and so we're very proud of that. All right, one more. Katie, go ahead.
Do you find today's vote to be an endorsement of your immigration policies or ideas and your, at some points, extreme rhetoric when it comes to building a wall, banning Muslims from coming into America? Are you going to continue on with that?
Well, it's moving along, and we're going to see. All I do is I do the right thing. I mean, I'm doing what's right for our country. And obviously it resonates because I have a tremendous number of backers and support.
Vote is an indicator that it's working for you as well and will work for you in the States.
Say it again.
Is today's vote here an indicator for you that your rhetoric and your extreme rhetoric is something you should continue
I don't know. I don't think I have extreme rhetoric, actually. I don't know, Katie. I think that what happened, I was watching some of the commentators before, and a lot of them were saying that. I'm not sure it matters from my standpoint, but I think it does show something about the people wanting their country back. And I can tell you, in the United States, the people want their country back. In the United States, people want smart decisions, not dumb decisions. And we've been given dumb decisions for many years, and the people are tired of it. And I have a feeling the same thing has happened over here, and that's why you had the result that you had. I love you all. Thank you very much, and thank you to my members, and thank you to the council. The council has been amazing, and thank you for all being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Trump, would you be able to do a family picture of the lectern?
We're going to do a ribbon cutting, okay?
I think you quite fatuous. You're all fatuous. You never asked any questions.
We asked questions.
You did.
Okay, folks.
Everybody give us a...
Is the council here? Do you want to have some of the council people come up?
Sure. Who's here?
Where are the council people? Where are they? Get some of them, if you want. That's right. Hey, she's tough.
Wow.
Say, whoa.
Can I get a Trump fan on this down here as well?
Okay, how about we do it on three, okay? We do it on three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Nice. I saw you saying nice things last night. Like, welcome home.